About an hour and a half. Yeah. I didn't put the bylaws thing on there. Today is the 15th.
As my dad always said, all day long.
All day long, yes. Yes, ma'am. Walter's, I think, going to be out. I don't know about Jim. I haven't heard about Jim. I don't know where he. I don't remember where he is.
It's like 3 in a row, isn't it?
I missed the last one. I don't remember the one before that. So.
I remember thinking recently that that's several, which would make this one at least 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's talk to y'all by yourself.
I can switch these.
No, I didn't put those up there, I promise. Shh. And they always stick you down there, don't they? You're not being punished.
No, I'm fine. I just, if Jim comes on, I do that.
Do we know Walt is not here? We know Walt.
Walt's not gonna be on. Okay.
Jim can stay where he is.
That's perfect. Oh, and then Jim goes, you move Jim from right now?
No, he's staying where.
Oh, okay. That's
He'll be the caboose if he shows up. Hit the magic button. Could I get whoever plans on speaking to fill out one of the yellow cards and we can just get it to the little come up? 7 o'clock.
9.
Gary, after the introduction of members, do you want to do amendment or revision to the agenda to add the bylaws consideration?
We certainly could. Should I do that before or after I read the little thing?
We can do it after.
Okay. All right.
Okay. 7 o'clock?
Revision of bylaws.
And then that can go after all of them.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. This time we'd like to call the May 15th, 2012 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. Will you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time we'd like to introduce the board members, starting on my left.
Rita Young.
Todd Shernick.
Christopher Bluer.
Gary Willis.
Nancy Plesnarski.
The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-legal board composed of resident volunteers of the City of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the zoning ordinance and appeals of administrative determinations. With regard to decisions on primary variances, the board's basis for decision is provided by these four considerations. A, relief if granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance. B, there are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, or topography, or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. And C, relief if granted would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties. And D, that the public safety, health, and welfare are secured and that substantial justice is done. This time we need to approve the April meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the April 2012 meeting minutes.
Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second the approval.
Any discussion? All in favor of approval of the April meeting minutes, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. We had one abstain. Nancy, passed. This time we need a motion for the revision, to add the revision of our bylaws to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, can we please make an amendment to our May 15th agenda to reflect discussion around the proposed amendments to our bylaws?
We need a second.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of adding the revision of the bylaws to the May 15, 2012 agenda, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Our first case is V11-011, 1955 Birmingham Road. It was deferred from the last meeting. Angela, can you please tell us where we are?
V11-011. We are still waiting on information from the applicant. He submitted some information to the state. The state got back to him. They needed some more information. It's just back and forth at this point, and staff has offered to host a meeting between the applicant and the state, so we can sit down in one place and make sure everybody knows what they need. We haven't heard back, so staff would like to ask that this case be deferred again to the next meeting.
Do we have a motion from the board?
I'd like to make a motion to defer case number V11-011 to the next meeting of June 2012.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Add some discussion.
Sure.
Can we make a request to the applicant to be present in the next meeting to give us an update on where they're at?
I can request that he be here. I can't make him, but
I understand. Can you make it known that the board,
I will
do we need to add that?
ask him to be here.
Counselor?
Do we need to vote on that?
No, I'm just asking him.
There's
I don't know that you formally do that. I mean, if you would like to make it the formal decision of the board, you have a motion and a second to do that. Otherwise, you can just have Angela make that request. As she indicated, you can do what you want at the next meeting if they're there or not. Well, I take that back. That's one of the things we're going to address in the bylaws if they are not here.
Okay. Which is part of why I would make an informal request, I think, at this point, for their presence, so that we have an understanding from them what the delays have been in nature.
Certainly.
Any other discussion? So we have a motion and a second to defer V11-011 to the June 2012 meeting. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Our next case is V12-001, 13540 Highway 9 North, Stone Creek Church. This was deferred from last meeting. Angela, can you please update us on this?
I actually have not heard from the applicant or the applicant in the past few weeks. The last I heard, the church was trying to figure out what they wanted to do in terms of combining their two pieces of property, but I haven't heard anything since then. But staff would like to ask for this case to be deferred again until the next meeting.
Do we have a motion for deferment?
I'll make a motion to defer case V12-001 until our next meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Nancy. Do we have discussion? We have a motion and a second to defer V12-001 to our June 2012 agenda. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Our next case is V12-005, 825 Garden Court Manor. Angela, will you please present?
Yes, sir. V12-005, requested variances. This is a three-part variance to allow a house to encroach into the front setback, to allow a house to encroach into the left side setback, and to allow a house to encroach into the right side setback. The site is Lot 412 in the Manor West subdivision, a single-family development in the Northwest Fulton Overlay District, consisting of 1.04 acres. It is zoned AG1. A braided stream and its 25-foot stream buffer bisect the lot. The lots in the Manor West are sewered. These are not septic lots. The applicant, Sridhar Galu, has proposed a 5,600 square foot two-story home for the site. Because of the stream, the house does not fit on the lot and encroaches into 3 of the setbacks. The proposed house encroaches into the front 50-foot setback by 6 feet. The house encroaches into the 25-foot right side setback by 11 feet, and the 25-foot left side setback by 7 feet. On January 24th, 2012, the city issued the applicant a grading-only permit for the purpose of adding fill dirt to the lot. Upon inspection of the work, staff found that dirt had been pushed into the 25-foot stream buffer. Staff instructed the applicant to remove the dirt from this area, and a stop work order has been issued. Because of these encroachments, a variance is required. On May 1st, 2012, the Design Review Board offered the following comments. Have you considered another house plan? Provide a site plan accurately showing the house and stream. Be prepared to show hardship and obtain letters of support from adjacent property owners. Additional department comments. A building plan review and DOT stormwater had no issues. Site plan review stated it would be difficult to construct the house and deck without getting into the 25-foot stream buffer. Arborist specimen tree at the rear of the site was disturbed and will require recompense above and beyond the landscape requirements imposed by the manor. Standards for consideration, as stated earlier, and the applicant's response as follows. We are not able to fit our house into the property with the buffer rules. The property is located at the end of the cul-de-sac. The variance should not affect the public safety, health, and welfare, and the proposed variance does not encroach or infringe on any neighboring residential properties. Recommended conditions. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. Provide recompense for the specimen tree at the rear of the yard per the city arborist. Install chain link fencing along the edge of the 25-foot stream buffer in order to prevent construction encroachment. This concludes the staff presentation.
Any questions to staff from board members? At this time, we'd like to invite the applicant forward to please present, and if you would state your name and address, we'd certainly appreciate it.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Sridhar Gollu. I am the owner of the 825 Guardian Court, Milton. Yeah, we applied for the variance, all three-side variance. And in last meeting, board members asked for the letters for the adjacent properties, and we discussed with the adjacent property owners regarding the variance. And they asked to reduce the variance, and we changed the plan a little bit, and we reduced the variance, and we resubmitted. And they approved for that variance, and they gave the letters for the approval. So,
Any questions from the board to the applicant?
So I think if I heard you right, you have a letter of approval from the Manor Homeowners Association?
Manor and the adjacent property owners too. 3 letters, all 3 letters I submitted to India.
I only see the one.
I got it.
Further back in your package, you have the Manor letter, and then after the pictures, you have a letter from lot 412.
411 and 4113. 413.
You see him, Todd?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one follow-up question.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
You indicated you've made some changes since your original submittal to the actual plan of the house
Yes, sir.
to reduce the amount of encroachment. Can you describe what changes you've made already to try to
Yeah,
reduce this?
actually the driveway, it used to be 16 feet. We reduced it to the 12.5 feet, the driveway under the bridge. So that makes us, and we cut the back deck and living area. So those make changes, those the changes we made, and we shrink
That
the
allow you
house.
to move the house back further on the lot?
No, actually we cut the house and we shrink the house little.
So how many total square feet is the house right now?
Right now it's around close to 56, 55, 60.
The plan that you have is the revised
Okay,
version.
great, thank you.
The plan we submitted, the revised plan.
So,
So those, the highlighted areas, those are the highlighted areas, we need the variance for the highlighted areas.
It looks like, sir, and I might be mistaken, but based on the photos and the diagram, that you actually, your house abuts 2 other properties that are occupied, is that correct?
No, we are going to into not their properties. In our property, we want to go into the setbacks.
No, I'm sorry, forgive me. Where your house comes in at an angle, looks like there's a
Yes.
house
Yes, sir.
to the right and to the left.
Yes, sir.
We have a letter from one of those neighbors, not from the other neighbor.
No, both
No,
neighbors.
they're both there.
Are they,
I have
I
both
have,
neighbors.
Yeah, look, here's one of them.
yeah, they're both,
Here's the other one.
Bailey and Jacobs.
forgive me, I'm sorry,
We got
I
both.
read the wrong thing, forgive me, thank you.
Oh, okay, I see.
Okay.
411 and 413.
So that the lot behind the house is that the house behind the lot, is that occupied right here? I don't know if the lot number
Yeah,
is.
but those
That's an
behind the
adjacent house too.
Yeah, but that's too far. We have
That's
like,
you're not in the setback there, are you?
no, we
Okay.
are not.
Okay.
Because the problem came with actually when we buy the lot, they gave this is the diagram they gave when we bought the lot. The creek moved 40 feet from the actual place. That's the reason we got the problem.
Can you explain to me how the dirt got into the stream buffer? What happened?
Actually, when we pull the dirt, the bulldozer guy, he moved onto silt fence. So then the dirt get into the buffer area. So city people, they came and they want to put the slit fence back and pull the dirt back.
And have you gotten all the dirt out of the stream buffer?
Yeah, because it's not too much, just only a little bit. Just we did immediately, like within 2 hours, we did that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. This time, we'd like to open the floor for public comment. If there is any, please come forward. Sir, since there isn't any public comment, you have the opportunity to make a closing statement. If you'd like to add anything else, you don't have to. It's up to you. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions to staff from the board?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It seemed like staff was concerned about the ability to construct this house so close to the stream buffer without encroaching during the construction process. I guess, is there any more background that you can offer to what that concern is? And is a chain link fence during construction enough mitigation?
I mean, we're just going by the plans that the applicant submitted to us, and the deck is literally as close as you can get to the stream buffer and the silt fence that'll have to be installed, and the tree protection fence. And just from practical standpoint, they're not going to be able to get equipment back there, and, you know, workers tramping back and forth. If they don't put something up, they're going to get in that buffer. And our city engineer has seen, you know, enough sites to know.
Will the chain link fence fix that issue, Angela?
I'm sorry?
Will the chain link fence fix that issue?
Yes, I mean, we'll literally have them put up,
Okay.
you know, like a 6-foot-tall chain link fence along the edge, and then they're going to have to figure out how they're going to get people and equipment and whatnot
Okay.
around there.
And I'm assuming the applicant clearly understands that as well?
I don't know if
adds
you've
to his
seen the staff
construction?
report, but
I want to make sure that you're hearing this requirement.
Sure, come on out.
Yeah, regarding that back, actually, we don't have the space for only deck side. That's why if everything good, we want to cut more deck to work back. So right now we have 15 feet deck, so we are planning to cut that deck to 10 feet. So in that way we can have 5 feet to work. That's our plan.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you. Any other questions to staff? At this time, we'd like to announce that the public hearing is closed and the floor is open for a motion. And I can't make one.
I get shut down every time.
Go.
I have to think about how to word it. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve case number V12-005, A20 Guardian Court with the following conditions. Number one, as stated by staff, that a chain link fence be constructed along the stream buffer. Number two, that the deck not exceed 10 feet in width. And
Hang on.
Yep.
You gotta add this on there. It says provide for the specimen. Keep going. One more page. Keep going. You gotta
Yep.
say that one.
And provide recompense for specimen trees at the rear of the yard for the city arborist.
For this site plan dated.
Sorry. Per site plan dated May 8th, 2012.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion?
I thought you brought up an excellent point that the applicant also needs to understand is, I hear the 10-foot on the deck to minimize or mitigate further encroachment. But as concerning, or maybe more concerning, is the foundation requirements at the rear of the garage, in that back left corner of the garage along the stream buffer, maybe even more of a concern. Question to staff is, if this applicant chooses to shift the garage either forward towards the street or to the right, if I'm looking at it from the street view, and we make this variance according to this plan submitted, will that cause any problems for the applicant?
I don't think so. I think the site plan is mainly validating the three. I would think the site plan is to show exactly the 3 encroachments. The attorney thinks differently.
All right, that makes sense.
Well,
Hold on.
I would prefer if you only were concerned about the setbacks that the motion and the variance is approved. When referencing the site plan, only indicate that is referencing the variances or the setbacks as shown in the site plan, not necessarily that the other structures. If you want to leave that, it would be better if it were clear.
Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve V12-005 to allow a house to encroach in the front setback, to allow a house to encroach in the left side setback, and to allow a house to encroach into the right side setback with the following conditions. Number 1, install a chain link fence along the edge of the 25-foot stream buffer in order to prevent construction encroachment. Number 2, the deck shall not exceed 10 feet in width. And number 3, that the applicant shall provide recompense for the specimen tree at the rear of the yard per the city arborist, and all this per the site plan dated 5/8/2012. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same side. It passed unanimously. Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Enjoy your house.
Make sure you stay in contact with the city about all the permits and everything. Okay. Our next case is V12-005, 825 Guardian, V12-006, 3105 Bethany Bend Gas Station. Angela, will you please present?
V12-006, requested variances are as follows: to reduce the landscape strip along Highway 9 from 20 feet to 16 feet, and to reduce the landscape strip along Bethany Bend from 20 feet to 16 feet. The site, 3105 Bethany Bend, is a .871 acre piece of land located at the intersection of Bethany Bend and Highway 9, Zone C1 per RZ 10-001. The site is in the Highway 9 overlay. The applicant, Medica, is in the process of constructing an 8-bay gas station with a 2,100 square foot convenience store. The Highway 9 overlay requires a 20-foot landscape strip along Highway 9 and Bethany Bend. At the pumps, the property narrows from approximately 80 feet wide to 40 feet wide. The applicant feels that the area allowed for a vehicle to drive around the pump islands is too tight. Along Highway 9, the applicant proposes to reduce 70 feet of the 235-foot landscape strip from 20 feet to 16 feet. He also proposes to reduce 82 feet of the 339-foot landscape strip along Bethany Bend from 20 feet to 16 feet. This would require cutting the curb and gutter already installed and reinstalling it. Due to this request, to reduce a portion of both landscape strips, a variance is required. Design Review Board courtesy review on May 1st, 2012, issued the following comment. Safety will be your best approach to proving your hardship, and provide landscape plans showing the reduced areas and plantings. Additional department comments, building plan review, staff, site plan review and DOT stormwater had no issues. The arborist has stated, request will have little impact within the landscape strip, will not impact the total number of trees or shrubs required within the landscape strip. And also, since staff sent out this staff report, the arborist has added some additional comments. The arborist is suggesting that the applicant provide an enhanced landscape plan to include increase in tree diameter from 3-inch to 4-inch caliber for the lace bark elm and Chinese pistache. He states that the 3-inch single trunk Natchez crepe myrtles is sufficient. The 2-inch trident maples or other trees for the parking island next to the building are sufficient. The 2-inch forest pansy redbud, which is an understory tree, is sufficient. The 8-foot little gem magnolias are sufficient, and 6 to 8 foot Nellie R. Stevens and other upright evergreens is sufficient because these will be going in the rear of the building. Some of the shrubs listed on the landscape plan are either low-growing, lower mounding in form, or will be small at installation. The arborist suggests that the plan be revised to include additional vertical material. Needlepoint holly is good, but should be sized so as to be 2 to 3 feet in height at height installed. Other species would include, but are not limited to, anise shrub, tea olive, and cleyera, which should also be in the 2 to 3 foot range. The laurel petulum is a good choice, but will not have immediate height. It will eventually grow to be an excellent shrub. The standards for consideration were stated earlier, and the applicant responds as follows. Relief, if granted, would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance in any way. If granted, there will be no change in the landscaping requirements. We will keep the same number of trees and shrubs in all landscape strip requirements. One hardship is based on the buildable area versus the total acreage of the property. The total property area is .737 acres. The total area of the 20-foot landscape strip is .35 acres, or 41% of the total site. Generally, most sites will not be burdened with by 41% of their site devoted to landscape strips. Another hardship is the acute angle of the property. Acute angles present challenging aspects to the developments, especially when the site is as small as the subject tract. If requested, if granted, the variance would not cause any detriment to public good and surrounding properties and ensures public safety while maintaining the integrity and intent of the 20-foot landscape strips. Due to the acute angles required around the pumps, this 4-foot adjustment will help increase public safety, health, and welfare, and will provide better flow of traffic, which ensures that substantial justice is done. In an effort to maintain the intent and minimize the reduction of the 20-foot landscape requirements, we have limited the reduction to immediately around the pump islands, where easier vehicular circulation is paramount to the safety of our customers. The request is to reduce the landscape strip from 20 feet to 16 feet in those limited areas only. Recommended conditions. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. The reduction in the landscape strips is approved per the revised site plan dated 3/29/12, and staff would like to add 2 more that are not shown on the staff report. The applicant shall remove the box light that has been installed on the power pole, as it does not meet Highway 9 overlay requirements. And also, the applicant shall provide an enhanced landscape plan to include an increase in tree diameter from 3-inch to 4-inch for the lace bark elms and Chinese pistache. The applicant shall substitute some of the low-growing material for material that will reach 2 to 3 feet at installed height. The landscape plan shall be approved by the arborist. This concludes the staff presentation.
Thank you. Are there any questions to staff from board members? Yes, sir.
There's been reference to a landscape plan Was there actually a landscape plan provided with this applicant or application?
No, because it was being revised even up until this morning.
Okay. So maybe the applicant has something that they can show us.
Any other questions to staff? This time, we'd like to invite the applicant forward to please present, and if you would state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Mehdi Khan. I live at 4180 Harris Trail, Atlanta, Georgia. As Angela read the letter of intent, I think she explained everything. As you can see, this is the area that we are most concerned because of this triangle shape that we have. A good portion of our property is, well, not a good portion, a part of the property is right at this angle, but it's really hard to get to it. When we built this one, as you can see, this last pump is the one that we have concern. And when people coming in and they want to go around it, this area, we only have 9 feet. The landscape, we have, I think part of this landscape that it was approved, we have 46 trees, 650 shrubs, and 516 ground cover, like turf and sods. None of these will change. Everything is going to stay the same. We have met with arborists, with Mark Law on several occasions at the property and at his office. And we have gone over it to assure him that nothing is going to change. All we're going to do is we have this area 5 foot away. If you go from back of the curb, we're going to have a fence, a wooden fence. And then behind it, we are going to have our shrubs, and then behind the shrubs, we are going to have the trees. So these 4 feet variance that we are asking is only going to affect the grass area in front of the fence. So what we have discussed with Mark, he had, oh, by the way, let me just very briefly show you the area that is going to impact, which is this yellow area. The rest of them is going to stay the same. This is what the landscape plan that we have worked with Mark, and actually these are his comments and his changes, which we are in agreement with him. And that's basically it. If you have any question, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Any questions to the applicant? Yes, sir.
I have a couple. Can you see the picture that we're being shown right now?
Yes.
You had indicated that that was a 9-foot clearance. Is that been widened? Because for the plan I'm looking at, it appears to be 15 feet 9 inches now. Unless I'm reading it correctly.
No, that's the area. It's 9 feet plus 4 feet is going to make it to 14.
13.
13.
You're looking at that number, right?
Yeah. Do you see what I'm referring to here? It looks like it's 15 now.
Yeah.
And that, all right.
Angela, do you have that as well?
And I'm wondering if this is pre-widened, or is this showing it as already widened?
You're looking at what the proposal.
So the picture that we see is actually already widened? Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So it's 15.9 now?
No, it's proposed to take it.
That's the proposed.
Thank you.
Yes, that's the proposed.
All right, thank you. I was confused by that.
That's not 15 feet.
Right.
I think, to answer your question, I'm sorry to interrupt you. This may have been a mistake because today I went and measured myself, and this corner that says 15, I think it says 15.9. It's actually the existing to the face of the curb is 9 feet, and then if you add 4 feet, it's going to make it 13. So this it's mistake because I measured myself.
Okay, so you think this measurement is actually more like 13 feet?
Correct.
With the variance?
With the variance, right.
Okay. Second question is, was this property in available square foot, was it reduced due to street widening or provisions for a bike lane?
Yes, sir. This property, actually, when I bought it, it was actually 1.1 acre land, and it got reduced to, I believe, 0.89 acre, and then we have to provide a bike lane for Highway 9 that was 4 feet away from it, and then from there we had to provide 5 foot of grass area plus 6 foot of sidewalk, which is a new requirement, and then 20 feet of landscape area.
Okay. Now, based on the adjustments, it looked like there was quite a bit of utility wires above this landscaped area. Based on the changes that have been made to the site plan, does it put this landscaping directly, the wiring directly above this landscape plan? Certainly the trees?
No, actually, it puts it close to the sidewalk. It's above the sidewalk, and that's the utility easement that they have.
Okay. All right, so we won't be looking at a future where these trees end up getting
No.
whacked off because they're encroaching into the wires?
No, as a matter of fact, it was one of the Mark's concern to make sure that we do not put the trees that they are fast growing. So he had that one in consideration.
Okay. All right, thank you. Those are my questions.
Any other questions from the board?
Actually, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
In terms of Highway 9 and the future of Highway 9, what if they decide later on that it will be widened? Have you put that into consideration? What will happen then?
Yes, when we did our design, actually part of this shrinkage in our property is due to that. They have reserved, I believe they have reserved a lane on future lane for Highway 9 and a future lane for Bethany Bank. Both of them had been into their consideration too.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sure.
At this time, we'd like to open the floor for public comment. If there is any, please come forward, sir. Have you filled out a yellow card? Well, come forward and you can fill it out when you're done. If you would, state your name and your address. And
Craig Kaufman, 555 Park Brook Trace, right off Bethany Bend.
Okay.
At the time that this station was proposed, there was a lot of controversy and a large number of meetings because most of the neighbors felt that it was going to cause severe traffic problems, and we had great trepidation about cars being able to get around in this gas station. Presentations were made by an engineering company which had prepared turning radius diagrams for trucks and cars, which ensured which said that they could meet the safe navigation around the property without shrinking any of the landscaped areas. And we are now quite bemused how we have come to this point where the station is now magically up and getting close to going into operation, and we suddenly find, gosh, the cars just can't get around here. We live in this area. We like our landscaped areas. We like our community, and we don't think that this is within the spirit of what we agreed to in those numerous meetings that were held. I would also ask, I believe you have a letter from the Josephs.
They don't actually.
Okay, that may have gone directly to City Council then, but they have sent a letter in, and they are the owners adjacent, directly across the street from the gas station. They are not able to be here due to some family obligations, but they are also strongly opposed to the variance.
Do you have a copy of that letter, sir?
Actually, I do. I have an electronic copy. Unfortunately, I don't have it in hard copy.
Is it a PDF? Is it signed?
Yes, I can forward it to you.
That'd be great.
To Angela.
To Angela.
Yeah.
And when you say the property across the street or adjacent, can you give us?
The Josephs are directly across the street. Let's see, where's Bethany? Give me a moment here. I'm a little this way.
You're on Bethany right there.
That's Bethany.
Okay, and they would be right here.
So that's the residence that's behind the vacant lot.
Okay, the CVS is up here?
Yes.
Yes, they are right behind here.
Okay. Thank you.
And I am sort of down back in here, about 200 yards away. 300.
Sir, I have a question for you. But by looking at this picture, it needs to be widened for the safety of the people that use it. I understand where you're coming from, but we weren't the ones that voted for this, so we're just here to do a landscape strip only. So my question is to you is, I think they need 4 feet so they can turn cars in there. What would make you happy? What could we do to give them the 4 feet that would make you happy, since Mark Law has already quadrupled the vegetation in there, which is a whole lot more than we would do for anything else. So is there, what could this board do that would make you happy for us to give them the 4 feet, and you feel like you can live with that? Because if you look at this picture, you can't even get a car that turns around in there.
Well, we don't dispute that.
Right.
We didn't feel at the beginning when the thing went in that it could get a car in there to turn around.
And again,
So-
we're only here
And
to
our
discuss.
feeling is that this is something that has, I'm trying to be polite here.
Well,
Yeah,
so,
we don't see how we got to this
Okay.
point.
Yeah.
Where
okay,
the thing
and
was-
again.
got this
okay,
far
but
along.
we can't discuss that.
Well-
My question to you, and I'd just like you to answer this one
Nothing.
question.
In
Is there
this question,
anything,
nothing.
is there anything that we could do?
No,
Okay,
just,
Thank
other
you.
than denying the
Right.
variance, nothing.
thank you very much.
Where would you like this copy of the,
Angela, do you already have a copy of it?
I do.
Then we don't.
So we could read that into the record, maybe?
Well, I believe we decided a while back not to read
We did.
absentee
You're right,
letters
you're
into the
right. We did.
record, and I should have forwarded it to you, but I
Okay.
apologize.
Okay. At this time, you have the opportunity to make a closing statement or make a rebuttal or anything you'd like to say, sir.
I would like just to mention one thing. We feel like that we did everything that we could possibly do to make this gas station one of the best looking gas station, one of the cleanest gas station for the neighborhood. And we have spent tremendous money extra just to accomplish that. And I have been over there since we started construction of this gas station, and I have received a lot of neighbors that they personally came and they thanked me and they said that we are really happy that you are building the gas station. We're going to be your customer. Thank you for doing that. And you know, I feel really bad that you know, there is still you know, there is a hard feeling And I have offered them, whatever I can do to make them happy, because they're going to be my future customer. And I feel like it, that I have done everything that I could possibly do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any question from the board to staff again? At this time, I'd like to close the public hearing, and the floor is open for a motion. And I can't make one. But I'd like to.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
Thank you, sir.
I make a motion to approve V12-006 to reduce the landscape strip along Highway 9 from 20 feet to 16 feet, to reduce the landscape strip along Bethany Bend from 20 feet to 16 feet, as noted in site plan titled Bethany Gas Station, dated 12/10/2010, with the following conditions. One is to remove the boxed light installed on the utility pole. And two is to comply with the enhanced landscape plan requirements of the city arborist. And that's it. I'll discuss in discussion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. The floor is open for discussion.
I just want to make a point here that, first of all, this is an extraordinary situation as far as the property is concerned, given the angular shapes and some of the obvious changes that were made for traffic flow and bicycle lane provisions for future growth, which clearly have impinged further on this property, for one. So, two, this request clearly falls in line with safety considerations, which is certainly in our interest as public well-being is concerned. And albeit an encroachment in the landscape strip, it's not an encroachment into the landscape buffer as it relates to the plan and the aesthetics for the community. So I think that they're taking appropriate steps to live within the spirit of providing a pleasing landscape environment.
Any other discussion? We have a motion to approve V12-006 to reduce the landscape strip along Highway 9 from 20 feet to 16 feet, to reduce the landscape strip along Bethany Bend from 20 feet to 16 feet per site plan Bethany Bend gas station dated 12/10/2010, with the following conditions. Number one, remove the box light on the power pole. And number two, to provide the enhanced landscaping plan per the city arborist of the city of Milton. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. It passed unanimously. Congratulations and good luck. Our last one is V12-007, 210 Trotter Run, Oxford Lakes. Angela, will you please present? I don't think they're here, are they? They're not
Which is
here.
why I made the motion instead of you.
Mr. Evans, are you having a good night? Thank you very much for attending. We certainly appreciate the citizen support.
They're all watching us on the World Wide Web.
I know. What do we do? Defer this one too?
Looks like the applicant is not here.
Pursuant to the bylaws, since we have amended the agenda, the bylaws as they stand now say that we should move it to the end of the agenda, which would be after we discuss the bylaws.
Let's see if
If they're still not here, then the board would move it to the next meeting.
do we need a motion to do that?
No, sound for them one time and see if they're here, and then just announce that.
Okay. Is the applicant here for the 210 Trotter Run Oxford Lake Swimming Pool? Okay, let's move on to other business. And that would be the revision of our bylaws. And Angela, I did not download mine by mistake. I apologize.
She's got the hard copy.
Yeah,
She knows us.
yeah, she knows it.
He takes care of us.
I've got one. Mine's not pretty colorful.
I usually always do it. I always do it. I don't know why I didn't do it.
You failed.
I did. I failed and I felt terrible. How do you feel since you don't have yours either? But you're going to take a copy, aren't you?
Can I ask if the board is receiving a red line version, or
Red line
Red line.
version.
is there any interest in the unread line version as well? I have that.
No.
Do you
I
have
don't know that-
copies of that?
Not for me.
Yeah.
I'm fine. No, thank you.
Since this was mostly my work, I'm going to go ahead and
Go ahead.
go through it. The initial kind of impetus for why I asked that the board consider looking at the bylaws was actually a situation which we just implemented, wherein if an applicant was not present, the bylaws state that first the matter would be pushed to the end of the agenda, and then if the applicant was still not present, that the board shall, or was required to continue it to the next meeting. That doesn't leave this board any option, and while I don't know that any situation has arisen where someone has gamed the system, someone could just not show up if there was reason to keep a variance application outstanding but not actually have any action taken on it for whatever reason, if you weren't ready to move on it. Anyway, in order to do that, I wanted to first address that issue and give this board the option to either continue if there were sufficient circumstances to justify that, or as I've put it, they have the option to deny the application basically for failure to prosecute the actual application. But that being said, that was the main issue I wanted to address, and you'll see that's addressed in here. In the process of doing that, I have taken the existing bylaws and made some comments and made some changes. Some are grammatical, some are options which you can consider as we go along. I'm basically just going to go through it page by page just to let you know. Then we can decide which things you're interested in, which things I'm strongly recommending versus saying, hey, here's one way you can do it. Given that, the first item I want to address is in Article 1. And in Section 3, essentially I added a formal statement that if not specifically spelled out in these bylaws, then Robert's Rules of Order would apply. I think this board does a very good job of, it doesn't have too many issues with that, but in following the general format of Robert's Rules of Order. But this would be to put it in there if there were ever a question that there are a set of formal rules on what motions take precedence and what you have to vote on first and things of that nature that aren't necessarily spelled out in these bylaws because it comes up so seldom, and generally the board can operate without going through the technical details that are spelled out in there. But in case there was ever an issue, it's good to have that in there. Next, you'll notice in Article 2, I pulled out two sections which essentially restate the conditions for which a variance or a sign variance can be granted. That comes from, this board doesn't have the authority to change those conditions. Just to make sure there's no problem when the commission or the city council, if for some reason they were to change the conditions that they want this board to consider in the ordinance, the zoning ordinance, then those would guide this board's decisions whether or not the bylaws state something different. And so that there's no confusion, I've just taken that out. And I'm not changing the fact as it stands right now that you have considerations that you follow. It's just that they will be the ones as stated in the ordinance in case the ordinance gets changed, and that makes so there's no potential for conflict in the future.
Council,
Yes.
would it make sense to reference that point here, that, this board shall be bound by?
That's certainly an option. If the board prefers, we can put the Section 2 variance considerations are those stated in, and we can refer back to.
That would be helpful, especially with new members and stuff. People, we might not be here.
What I'll do is I will prepare some language that will give you that option on a subsequent draft, assuming we bring it back before the board again.
Thank you.
Moving to what's this, Article 3. The Section 1, first, the election of officers. I didn't really change anything other than to specifically indicate that instead of just saying shall elect yearly, I know this board generally does this, but at the first meeting of the calendar year is when the election shall take place, unless continued, just to make it clear that that's the plan. I don't think there's any problem. That's the way it has been done generally. So. Section 2 is somewhat of a change, and the most notable change is to give the chairman the authority to make motions.
Yeah.
And
It's time, Counselor. It's been time for a long time.
We'll never get a word in edgewise.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah, 'cause I talk so much, right?
We might as well go home.
Yeah.
and then generally just to set up.
Preach on, brother. Just keep preaching.
That's the biggest change of those. And the rest is nothing new.
Well, can I, how did it ever end up that the chair couldn't make it? Because we
I
used to
don't know,
do that.
and I don't know that it was necessarily spelled out in the rules that way, but this will clarify that.
Thank you. And I didn't ask for that, so.
Just for
But I knew it would
reference,
make you
it's
happy
been a
when
while
you read
since
it.
I've been in a city council meeting. I mean, the mayor can make a motion, can't he?
I'd have to go back and look. I have concentrated on this board.
We have somebody here that can answer that
You can
question.
ask that question.
Can the mayor-
Counselor.
Councilman?
Can the mayor make a motion? Can the mayor make a motion?
He never has. He always asks for a motion. I don't think I've ever seen, since I've been on, I've been on that. The mayor cannot make
A lot of times it is a matter of policy. So there are I mean, I say that there are a significant number of jurisdictions wherein a chairman or mayor will only break a tie, may not make a motion. I mean, it's not unheard of. It's up to an individual board to consider.
Given our circumstances, there is really no, and who we are as a community and as a board, there's no downside to having the chairman make a motion.
It makes the meetings longer because he'll talk more. I'm
then-
kidding.
We don't, and
It gets rid of the.
I don't mind not making them. It doesn't matter to me in the least. I just say that to get someone else to do it. But but if you don't want to put this, it doesn't really matter to me.
It's not a requirement to me. I felt like
Yeah, I think it's big so what.
It-
Put it
it-
in.
I think
They're
we should
just,
keep it in.
they're
Yeah,
not
I-
elected, I mean, they're not appointed to the board as the chairman. It's drawn, it's just someone who's drawn from this body, so I don't know why their
Why not?
authority should be
Nope, I
less.
agree.
to
Great.
it. But
Move
it's up to y'all.
Oh, and more importantly, you can adjourn meetings now.
Yeah, I can now adjourn.
Point E.
All righty.
Section 3 doesn't really change much. I'm just saying that, adding the language of, until reelected or a successor is elected, just to make it clear that we don't have a void in the position at the end of the year.
Bless you.
God bless.
I think Article 4 is basically just, the language was somewhat vague when it said must attend, and I put expected to, and then referred back to the Code of Ordinances, which has the requirements stated there. And it's the board that would, the city council that would do the removal.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah.
I thought at one point we had the right to, yeah, I think we did
Really?
originally in our first
We did.
draft.
I thought we did too.
Well,
Let's see, in Article 5 meetings, provided that you could try to set out a specific procedure for adopting the calendar for the year. It wasn't necessarily clear this will set out a procedure, and just to make sure that it's clear when you're meeting and what you have to do if the meeting is changed. I don't know if there's anything terribly controversial about it, but it just set out a procedure. And I don't know if Angela had a chance to review that. I wanted to make sure that staff, the procedure that I made, that I spelled out, made sense for the resources that are available.
I was going to say, we'll be meeting on the 10th.
I'll give you a chance to look at it. Article 5, Section 1, meetings, beginning of the year, and then
But your wife would want you to do something during the whole
changing the calendar,
Didn't stand.
getting it up on the
are
website.
we going to impose term limits on that?
We should.
You remember we talked about that?
We did. I
We talked
actually,
about doing it.
actually think it's a good idea.
Tell you what, while she's
I
looking
really
at
do.
that, I'm going to move
I do.
on to,
I'm sorry, Counselor, hold on just a
We
second.
can,
Okay.
we can do that through vote, though.
I mean, well, I've always thought that was a great idea. I brought that up
What
years
is that?
ago.
I know you like that.
Term limits.
I've always said there should be term limits for the chair and the vice chair. I've always thought that. I said that the day
But
we
you're-
started this thing, and I got voted down.
But you're not talking about sitting on the board, just holding those positions.
Holding those positions.
Right.
No, no, you get sit on the board until they kick you off.
Right.
Until you're.
That, we
council-
serve at the pleasure of
But
our
I,
council member.
but I've always thought that there ought to be a term limit. That's just my personal opinion, but I tried to get that through, and you guys all turned me down.
And what would you think is the appropriate?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, I just thought, my.
10 years?
Well, I don't know, I mean, my feelings were that, sometimes they can turn into power things.
Right.
And I never wanted somebody on the board to have more power than the other 6 people. And I just always thought we ought to have term limits.
Why couldn't we, well,
The counter argument to that is we all take a vote annually, and if we choose not to
That's
vote for a
true.
person.
So I guess
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
However, then in a power situation, that you maybe fair retribution or
Right,
hard
right.
feelings.
So, do any of the other boards have term limits here on the city? Of their
in
chair
the
and
city, I couldn't tell you all the.
vice? How about other cities?
Honestly, I have seen where it has been done, but I wouldn't say it's that common on
In government.
board. Yeah.
but they get paid too.
But I don't. I mean,
It doesn't
it's
matter
a
to
very
me.
reasonable
I know.
thing to consider. I don't know that it's necessary, but
How many, you're the second chairman we've had, is that correct? Chairperson.
No, third.
Yeah. Sandy served for a while.
So we've,
We had Heidi.
and we've been in existence for 6 years?
6 years.
So we've had natural term limits.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So until it becomes, maybe when it's an issue, we,
Natural term limits, you're right.
yeah. because we serve at the pleasure of our council
Well,
member.
absolutely, and you're only here until they say it's time to go anyway,
Right, and
so.
they can say,
Or when they leave.
right. So I think they're naturally term limits
Okay.
imposed.
That's fine.
I think that's true.
But you're still on a short leash, okay?
Well, and I should be.
I don't want to give him power to adjourn, that's just overstepping bounds.
Well, and because then I never will then, I'll just sit here and wait for you to do it.
I think there was a comment that Angela made that the calendar is typically adopted at the last, that the calendar for the upcoming calendar year is adopted at the last meeting or the December meeting. If that's what it's done, I can make that revision to this.
That's fine.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Usually we probably have to change the January meeting.
Okay. This one is something to pay attention to in section 2 of this Article 5 on meetings. I included language. It does not necessarily have to be in there. I'm not recommending one way or the other, but letting you know it's an option that allows a majority of the board members to call a special meeting. Previously, the language just allowed the chair to do that. I guess my thought is it is conceivable that the chair and the vice chair may be unavailable out of the country or something when an issue comes up, and typically a special meeting may be an emergency type basis.
Sure. Absolutely.
Or we may want to talk about the sheriff.
Right.
He has to get notice of it, though. Or at least,
Right now, you don't kid.
and then I just changed it such that I had reasonable
makes
attempts made.
That's fine,
Yes,
that's fine,
that's good.
we're okay.
Take any trips?
Okay.
I'm the only person that's never missed a meeting since day one. Never.
Because you have a desk job.
That's right. I've never missed one.
Just
In 6
section
years, I've
3
never
just
missed
made it
one.
clear that you have to have the 4 members, the quorum present to
Sure.
Conduct business.
Sure.
That's fine.
If someone if you have 4 to start and someone walks out, you still need, you cannot conduct
Continue.
Right.
That's fine.
the business.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily required, but that's the way I have it written here. Let's see. I made some suggestions on kind of expanding the standard agenda,
I like that.
which is to include an adoption and amendment of agenda as we actually did. It came in right at the same time. Then adding a standard old business, new business section,
Yeah.
I guess we could throw on adjournment on there
Let's do it at the end.
as a 10. Just to, I just wanted to formally put that in. Since we had a section on there, I thought I'd add those in.
Sure.
I add in section 6 of, yes, this is the meeting section. This is the section that prompted this discussion, such that now it says when the item is called at the end of the agenda, the board may vote to either deny the application or defer the application to a future board meeting. That's the change that we've discussed.
Yeah.
In section 5, if we can back up for a second.
Sure.
So this is what you mentioned earlier as being, referring back to the ordinance which guides our business here.
Right, and this is kind of, and I know it's an interesting situation in that it's calling for them to read a statement, and which is different from what the actual consideration is. And I agree with you, and I wasn't sure. We can, if the chairman would like a statement, I guess we can do that. I can change this language to read, shall read a statement consistent with or describing the variance considerations and the sign variance consideration consistent with the ordinance. That's probably
That would make it
a
more
good
durable,
idea.
right?
Yeah. Well, then we can have one that's easier, that I can provide to the chairman and update that if it ever gets changed without having to change the bylaws.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's a very good point.
Very good.
You earned your keep tonight.
My wife said I should have been the attorney.
Not too late.
She's right. Then you'd be home now and then.
Okay, so we just discussed section six. Section 7, I added a few things in there, providing a little bit more of an outline. One was to add, and there's an option, I've seen this done both ways. It doesn't, as a legal matter, I don't think matters as long as it's consistent, and that is a question of when the public hearing is actually open. I don't know that, as a standard practice, we declare the public hearing open. This spells out when we're going to declare it open. It can either be by motion. There are some boards that will make a motion to open the public hearing, make a motion to close the public hearing. Some jurisdictions will just have the chairman declare the public hearing open, declare the public hearing closed. Either case is...
Council, will that tie our hands, thinking back to the instance we just had a moment ago, where the applicant presented, we then had, I believe, a motion and discussion. During that discussion, we had additional questions for the applicant. If we have closed the public hearing at that point, that applicant would then be prohibited from speaking.
There's two ways. First of all, the way this is set up, item 10 is the board addresses questions to the applicant, the speakers, and the staff, and then item 11, the chair declares the public hearing closed. So it acknowledges that those questions would take place before the public hearing is closed. So the chairman would wait until there's no more questions and then close the public hearing.
Would we have the option to reopen it?
It could be, on motion, the public hearing could, at that point in time, could be reopened.
Okay, as long as we don't tie
So
our
we've
hands.
run into many instances where through our motions and discussions, we've had further questions of the
Right,
applicant.
and I, having...
You've witnessed it.
Yes, and having litigated cases where it boiled down to what was in the public hearing and who said what, when, at least having that indication on the record can indicate what, that the public hearing was open and was closed, so there is an official public hearing, and then what constitutes part of the record or not part of the record, as opposed to, well, I said something, well, if it was part of the public hearing.
And that's actually a great example, because the gentleman who was sitting down over the chair, he never announced himself. We have no information about
Right,
it.
since I was
Aware of that.
getting ready to have him it shorted, it was shortened, but yes.
So that would prevent that from occurring.
Well, right.
So as a matter of practice, we should do a better job of making a motion to reopen the public hearing to ask those clarifying questions.
Right.
And then motion to close again.
And can anybody ask for it to be reopened? on the
Yes.
Okay, good.
They make a motion and second.
Good. Good.
So that'd be just a standard part of Robert's rules.
Yeah, a motion, a second, discussion, and
Good, okay.
I did, you'll know, I did also change the procedure a little bit to have the call for public wishing to speak in support and the public wishing to speak opposed, as opposed to a general call for the public to speak. The ZPL is clear that it wants to give both sides of an application an equal opportunity. Where if we don't acknowledge who's speaking for and against, in theory, there could be a challenge saying we didn't, we were opposed and we didn't get the equal amount of time. This just
Clears that up.
What's that?
This would clear that up.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Will Angela let them know ahead of time that they only have 10 minutes? Should that be something that,
We used to give them 2 minutes each.
so I mean, just
That's
so
true.
that, you could put time limit, I just want to make sure.
That is also changing. Instead, where we've got, it's 10 minutes for, in the bylaws, and that may be something that a statement could be read at the beginning of the meeting.
Because when we had that one thing, we had about 30 people that wanted to speak.
Right. And of course, that can always be amended, extended by motion as well.
How do you pick? Did you let all 30 people
We
speak?
extended the time
Yeah.
to allow for it.
Okay.
Yeah, we wanted everybody to have their say.
We got paid overtime.
But you gave each person 2 minutes, or no?
Yeah.
We extended the overall time to allow
Yeah.
everyone to
But
speak.
okay.
Yeah, they got up to 2 minutes.
Well, and that's interesting because if you gave everybody 10 minutes, you had 30 people.
Yeah, but this is in some total of 10
This
minutes.
is a total of 10
Some
minutes.
total of
okay.
10 minutes.
But I mean, usually 10 minutes is more than sufficient.
Okay.
Holy, yeah, I mean,
But in those instances, when you have 30 people in the audience,
that's right.
We make a
At
motion.
that point in time, I mean, you know, you do have control, and they, if you say it's 10 minutes and you got to figure out who's going to speak for 10 minutes, you can
Right.
divide it up 30 seconds for 20 people, or 2 minutes
Yeah,
for 5
okay.
people, you know, or if you feel like it, you can extend it
It's
beyond that,
around.
as long as both sides get an equivalent amount of time. That's
so we could vote to extend
yes.
if we want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. I added section 8,
Yeah, we see, we noticed.
and I don't think that I don't recall if we have had an appeal come before this board while I've been serving with you. But that being said, it's a very different animal than a variance, and has so a different process is called for. I've spelled this one out, and I think it's something that you may want to take back and review and see if you have any comments rather than trying to go through it all tonight. And
Yeah.
individual questions to me are no problem. You know, between now and the next meeting.
It's
I'll
a
be there.
secondary variance. Is that a variance to a variance? Or?
It's essentially, I think it's appeal of a decision interpreting a statute, or appeal of a denial of.
But that appeal goes, didn't that appeal go to magistrate court?
Yeah.
I thought it went to
It goes to
court.
Superior? Yeah, you're right, it would go to
Right.
Superior, not magistrate, Superior.
Yeah. So, take a look at that. That's,
Okay.
you know, this is based on,
That
and
was
I kind of combined, I think, a couple of jurisdictions to what I would like to see and how it's been done in several other jurisdictions.
What was the intent in number 6 there in that section? The county shall? You could probably make the city.
Do you mean the city?
So what he did, he cut and pasted from some other word.
Was that the only issue with
It's
it?
just it was one that jumped out at me.
Yep. Section 9, I added a paragraph, and to spell out what happens in the event of a tie vote. For a procedural motion, it just means it's the procedural motion is defeated. That's fine. Same thing is the case with what we call a main motion or a substantive motion. The motion is defeated and the matter stays open, which means if there's some jurisdictions where if you have a motion to approve, which is a tie, there's a tie vote and it's deemed defeated, some will say that constitutes a denial of the motion, of the variance application itself. I want to make clear that that is not the intention, unless you want to. But and then there's a provision which says that the matter can, if there's a tie vote, that means you have taken action. If you have attempted to take action on the matter, you don't have to reach a conclusive vote on the motion before adjourning, as long as you have taken one vote on the matter, or deferral.
Would that just equal basically a deferral into the next meeting?
It would, in essence, equal a deferral. That's correct.
Today a tie equals denial.
The motion fails.
Right.
Motion fails. Motion fails.
Right.
Motion fails. Okay.
And this is to make it clear that the matter would remain open. I mean, if for some reason it was late and you said, you know, we're not going to break this tie, but nobody votes, you could still adjourn with the matter open. It would automatically come back. There might be something that says you can't, the matter can't remain open. You have to formally defer, or and if someone's holding out, you know, if 3 members are holding out, I'm not going to defer it, and they, well, we're not going to approve it. You could stay here and not be able to adjourn the meeting. You know, what could happen is, you know, this would at least keep it open. That was the purpose of including that additional language.
Council, I have a question. Jumping back a second to the section 8 that you added. The last point number 9. I noticed, I think it's good. Any evidence presented shall be considered part of the record.
Yeah.
But that only applies to secondary variances, interpretations, and appeals. Should we add some language similar to that as it relates to primary variance
Yeah, I
itself?
have it here.
Sure.
Perhaps in section
This
5?
I'll find something. Yeah.
Or maybe in section 7 of the procedures?
Right. I'll probably find a way to put it in 7. It's similar.
Am I drawing this out?
No. No. Take all the time you want.
Am I making too much noise over here?
Counsel, you're okay if we just redline this back to you with comments and thoughts?
Absolutely. I would.
I'm assuming that would be the easiest way.
Absolutely.
Do you have his email address?
I think you're on our email.
Some of them it's gotten distributed.
Yeah, I'll find you.
Yep.
Remember, we pay him though for every hour he's working.
I do know that.
That's it. I will be happy to. I'll make some of the revisions and the comments that you've made, and any comments y'all have.
Thank you.
Discuss
Yeah, thanks for taking a stab at this like
Yeah, I
that.
think
This
that's
is
great.
very helpful.
Made us a lot more efficient.
Yep. All right, Angela, V12007, did you get a hold of the applicant?
I did. He stated that he was not aware that he was supposed to attend the hearing tonight, so we will ask that it be deferred.
Oh, and I don't know what.
Strike already.
Make a motion on that.
We already,
I move that B12-007 be deferred to next meeting.
do we have a second?
I can second.
Discussion? We have a motion to defer V12-007 to the June 2012 BZA meeting. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. It passed unanimously. Please save your stuff for the swimming pool one for next meeting, please.
The bylaws?
Yeah, that and
On
Try
the
to run.
case.
Try to run.
Staff
the
report.
try to run
Right.
swimming pool.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn our meeting. Ooh, I'm
Before
sorry.
we do that,
Forgive me, I was jumping the gun.
do we have a secured slot in our agenda for next month to pick back up on the bylaws?
Angela should put it in, I'm
I
sure.
will add it.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, I'm assuming once we go through next month, that would then get presented, council back to city council, and they would,
This is within your authority to adopt.
in our
the bylaws.
authority.
There you go.
Yep. Big boy pants next week, okay?
You talk about me saying things, and look what you just
Sexist,
said.
actually.
Big boy pants, yeah.
Okay, make a motion.
I'd like to continue. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn our meeting for May 15th, 2012 for the evening.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor of adjournment, raise your right hand. Passed unanimously. Have a great night.
Have you talked to Watley?
I have not. I tried to call him today, and his phone went directly to voicemail, so he must be out of town.
I'm not aware of it. It's listed the authority to adopt and amend bylaws.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we're changing laws. I just want to make sure that we're not.
I don't think they're even posted anywhere. So
The website.
I don't know that. I'm trying to think if I tried to find them there before and could never find them. I haven't sent. Yeah.
right, thank you. Watching what race was that you were watching?
That originally was the Tour of California. Le Tour de California.
To California, dude.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, they actually went probably today went probably less than 5 miles from where I used to live when I was in law school.
Kind of go out and grab beer and walk.
Yeah, actually, my wife and I rode. I'm trying to figure out if we actually rode the same roads that they went, because we lived in Pleasant. They finished in Livermore, and we lived in the town next to Livermore. And one day, we did like this. We were crazy. We rented bikes and just rode to Livermore. But it was like 30 miles or something like that. We're like,
Yeah, the ride is one thing to ride there, but then you gotta get back home.
yeah. Luckily, it was flat. Now you go from the bay up over the hill, down the backside, and then you're in the valley. So we were just riding along in the valley. But
Probably handle flat, but
yeah.
good night.
Hi, Gary. Alrighty. Not too bad. Oh, let's see. I go home, eat, take care of the kids, take care of the dog.
Final kit, project kit.
Yeah.
So you good?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing? Good. Playing Florida.
Yeah, and I'm Paul Fricky. Kids off. It's nice to see you. You too.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. That was a good reputation the arborist made, so I think that, getting to do a little more enhancement on his planting, just kind of offset, just psychologically, it's better. You know what I mean? So,
Bigger trees, more of them.
yeah, well, and the shrubs.
And
That was
the
a big
shrubs.
thing, just upsize the shrubs and do a little more enhancement, just to, even just psychologically, because it's not a complete, reduction. It's only,
Yeah, and
it's only a partial reduction.
I don't think the average person will even know.
No,
So
no, they won't.
if
They
they're
won't.
getting something and
No, and he's put a lot of money in that site. He really has, but I think that corner will do well.
well, it's the only thing there, so I wish it was.
That whole intersection is a possibility. It's all going to be completely reconfigured.
Yeah.
That was, we
they
voted
did that
on the priority
400
last
thing,
night
yeah.
at council about, that was one of the big priority items, was to study that intersection now and decide how to get that acute angle out of there. And there's even talk about, taking Bethany Bend
Moving it.
and
That
running
makes
this
sense.
way and have Bethany Bend the other way come, and actually, they don't even line up anymore. Actually go, I was talking to Carter about that, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of solutions come up, because that is a really weird acute angle.
And now they're saying, I guess, that Bethany Bend is part of the possibility for the 400.
Well,
and
Bethany
whatever.
Bend, yeah, because if they do the McGinnis Ferry, which they will.
Yeah, that.
I met with
Mhm.
the county manager, some of their folks about that interchange. That's gonna,
So that'll
they're
have to
pushing that.
change.
So, Bethany Bend will probably see more traffic, people cutting across to get on 400 that way. And I think Strickland will see more traffic too, where, in that intersection where Bethany Bend and Strickland intersect, that's a weird intersection. Something needs to be done with that intersection as well, so. And I mentioned that to the LCI guys when we were going over that, so. Anyway, go home. Nice seeing you.
Good seeing you again.
Take care.
I'm gonna go work on my daughter's final project.
Oh, boy.
That's what I'm doing. I guess I'm making a SpongeBob. Hopefully we get a good grade.
I remember those days.
Yeah.
Mine are 33 and 30 now, so.
Oh, goodness.
I got a grandson, so 8 weeks old.
Oh, congratulations.
Horrible.
Oh,
It really is. They're all Virginia Beach and all. We get to see them every now and then. We got FaceTime now on the iPhone.
You can sit there
And
with